Well, hello everybody and welcome to the live stream. My name is Jesse Showalter and you're here on my channel because we're talking about workflow, we're talking about process, and you are patient, kind people who are understanding of my technical difficulties this morning. So I do appreciate you. Man, oh man, we're having some fun today already because we got Laphole in the chat, Mamadou, Abernail, people jumping in because we're gonna talk about design. Yeah, Laphole says, hey, I'm finally able to see you live. It's my first time. I'm so glad you're here. Man, oh man, if you want to get your portfolio reviewed at the end of the stream, all you have to do is go over and follow me on Instagram. I put the link and pinned it up in our YouTube chat. Follow me on Instagram, DM me the link, and hopefully we can get your portfolio on the stream. I'll be giving you feedback, live critique, and review. The whole point of these live streams is to learn a little something, say hello to each other, kind of create community, get that community vibe going, and then just for the opportunity for me to be able to connect with you. Hey, if you want to connect with me just a little bit more, maybe think about becoming one of my prized members. Hit that little join button, become a member, because next week, that's right, next week, I think we're gonna be doing our very first members only Zoom chat. We're gonna be jumping into a Zoom call, and I'm gonna be talking with you guys face to face, answering your questions. I mean, serious mentorship time. So become a member like these fine folks. You also get backstage access, first access to videos before they come out, as well as all my design files. So think about becoming a member and joining us for next week's members only Zoom chat. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun. All right. We got more people jumping in the chat. We got the Marine from Texas jumping in the chat, Sutherland and Haiti and Jordan Alexander. Got people, tell me where you're coming from and what you're hoping to accomplish or what you want to learn today. It's Abernail says, my portfolio review, I just viewed the playback version of the video. Oh, so yeah, I reviewed Abernail's portfolio. Yeah, right on. That's amazing. Okay, hey, we're gonna jump in because today we're talking about workflow and process. I'm gonna talk about general workflow, like the design workflow. And then I'm also gonna be throwing in some recommendations for, I don't know, gear that you might wanna use, applications that make sense, little minute tactical things, as well as this big, large overview of this 4-point design process that we should all be working and walking in, I think. Okay, so Jerry says the camera's super good. Thank you. Just upgraded my camera gear. I'm streaming in 4K today. Gonna be a lot of fun. We are talking about workflow and process. Let's get going. I got a little presentation for you in Figma. We'll jump in and out of this thing. First, let's talk about the pieces of my workflow process. If I had to boil it down to 4 things, these are the 4 things that I would boil my process down to. Ready? Understand, ideate, validate, refine. Okay? Understand, ideate, validate, refine. Throughout this presentation, you might see spelling errors. Don't judge me. I'm real bad at spelling and grammar. That's just how I roll, okay? Carolina's from Mexico, Abernail's from India. We got people coming from Algeria, Texas, all over the place. I'm also in Texas, in case you didn't know. But we're gonna talk about that first step of the process. That first step of the process, again, was to ideate. So let's talk about this real quick. 100% of people that don't have a process are suffering because of their lack of process. This is a statistic that I found in my own brain and imagination. I just made it up, but I think it's really, really true. Deep down in my heart, I believe this quote to be true. If you don't have a process for a way that you solve problems, deal with clients, handle projects, all that stuff, you are suffering in some way, shape, or form, because it was Clement Mock who said design means being good, not just looking good. So we have to process things well, process things good, not just make things look pretty in the end. That's not what design is. Design is problem solving. So that's what we want to do. We want to solve some problems. So let's talk about the first step. David Montoya asks, is this being recorded? Yep, you'll be able to watch this later on my channel. And I've also started releasing clips out of my live stream so you can watch them in bite-sized pieces. So the first step is to understand. This means things like research, competitive analysis, competitive sets, market research, exploring options, finding the X factor, and looking for clues. Let's dig in a little bit about this understand idea. Understanding means whether you are solving a problem for a client, designing a website, building a brand, trying to, I don't know, redecorate your office, whatever it is, you need to understand the problem first. And to understand means you have to do all of those other things. And so I'm just going to use like a website as part of an example today. If you're going to design a website for a client, you have to understand the client first and foremost. You have to understand their business, right? A lot of times as designers, we just want to jump right in and start mixing it up, start throwing pixels around. We want to skip the wireframe, skip all that stuff, and just make a really cool dribble shot, because that's what we love to do as designers, right? We love making things look awesome. It validates ourselves. It makes us feel good. But that thing that you create, it can't just look good. Remember, it has to be good. It actually has to fit the mold. It actually has to serve the purpose of which it was built for. So if you design a website for, let's say, a tech brand, they're looking for a blog or something, and you're like, I have this great idea, I've been wanting to do it forever. That's an idea that you had that you wanted to do forever. It's not the idea that they need that will help them be successful. So in a website situation, I'm gonna research the company. What is their business? What are they looking to do? What's their goals? I'm going to ask them business goal focused questions. Like, are you trying to increase traffic? Are you trying to increase leads? Are you trying to get more visibility? You're trying to sell something. What is it you're trying to do? Okay, now I'm going to go do some competitive sets and analysis. I'm going to do some market research and figure out what other people are doing in this space. What's similar? As I start doing that, I start holding what they have up to what other people have, and I start finding holes or similarities, and I start exploring options. I start finding what could be this brand's X factor. What could be the thing that makes this website stand out and be different? And in what ways do I not want to stand out? What ways would be just make sense for me to fit in? And from there, that's what I call finding the clues. I find the clues like a crime scene investigator, right? Looking around the crime scene going, I think I've figured out how the assailant came in and how they opened the door and how they forced entry. I'm finding all of the clues that will help me solve the case. That's what we have to think of. Any project, whether it's redesigning your office, building a website, starting a friendship, I need to understand what's needed here before I dive in and start doing. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. All right. Well, hey, before we go too much further and talk about the next step in the process, let's do a quick question and answer time with Jesse. All right, let me know if you have any questions down in the chat. We have people coming in from Iran, from Syria, from Egypt. We got all sorts of people, and I had a little technical difficulties trying to get my 9 a.m. stream going, so we jumped over to a 10 a.m. streaming time. And somebody, I wish I remembered their name. I could probably look right now and figure it out. But somebody jumped in and they became a member. Boom, boom, boom. I wish I had a bell to ring. You know, I need a soundboard for my live streams. But if you have any sort of questions, please go ahead and start posting them right now in the chat. I would love to answer your questions. All right. And if we don't have any questions, then we will just continue on. Okay, I got people coming from Oklahoma. People still tell me where they're from. I have a question. Mamadou, where is Mali in the world? I don't know where that is. I need to do a little research. I know where Nigeria is, but I don't know where some of these other places are. So I need to get better at geography as well as my spelling and my grammar. All right. So, all right. Well, let's come back for another portion or another section later on for question and answer time. Here we go. Got some questions coming in. Just a little bit of a delay. Lapole says, what if it's a concept project? That's great. Okay, what do we do if we are building a concept project? What's our process look like for a concept project? It should be the exact same process as a client project. These 4 steps, this whole idea of understanding, ideating, validating, and refining. You can do all of these things with your concept projects. And once we go through the entire process, maybe we'll come back and answer that because it'll make a little bit more sense to you. Jordan Alexander says, I'm in the process of looking for a new job. Submitted my portfolio to you as well. You did? Well, did I not see it? I'm gonna check it out. How long does the process take to get hired typically in a design role? Wow, that can really depend on who you are, what you're looking for, and what your skill set is, right? Like for instance, right now, I get a pretty good feeling that UX designers are in high demand, lower supply, like really talented, qualified UX designers. Whereas really talented UI designers might be in high supply, low demand. or a mixture of the two. So it's really a supply and demand thing. Now, not knowing your skill set or your level of expertise, Jordan, let's say you were a junior to mid-range designer. Maybe you're just getting started in the game. You spent like a year or so kind of honing your skill. You got a decent portfolio. You could expect to take anywhere from 3 to 9 months to find a good position. But while you're doing that 3 to 9 months, you should be grinding and building more case studies, more concept work, maybe some free work for clients or for friends or family or free clients. You should be building some momentum behind you and not just submitting resumes. That's part of it. You got to submit your resume, submit applications, all of that. But at the same time, building. Submitting, building. That should be the process for all of us. I want to say special thank you to Tomami Taneda, who's one of my members. You could tell because they have that little green kind of thing in the chat, as well as my little emoji thumbs up, because I love my members. All right. Do you use the grid? Body Chi says, yes, I do use the grid. I use the grid on all digital design products that I'm designing. So mobile applications, desktop applications, websites, use the grid, learn the grid, love the grid. I put a video about the grid. You should use it. Okay. Okay. What is the guide size for mobile and web border guides? I'm not really sure. What that means. What is the guide size for mobile and web? I mean, I'll just speak really like generally speaking. For mobile designs, I don't go with the largest artboard out there. I'm not going to go with an iPhone 12 Pro Max. I'm going to go with maybe like an 11, a standard 11 artboard. So not 414 width, but whatever the next one is, like 382 or something. I'm going to go mid-range. That way I'm keeping in mind some smaller screen size, but I'm not going to go all the way down to like the littley ittiest bittiest one, right? And then I'm going to use grids on that. Let me see, with desktop, I'm comfortable around 1240, 1300 as my desktop size, because not everybody has a lot of times we just slap 1920 by 1080 artboards and be like, I'm designing for desktop. That's really wide, right? That's cinema. So don't go 1920 by 1080, go smaller, right? I think back in the day, I used to use the 1140 grid. I don't mind that, 1140, 1200, 1240, something like that. I like that for desktop. Okay, let me see. Josh has a tech question. I need to upgrade my new monitor, but wondering if the 4K price jump is worth it over a QHD screen with high color accuracy. Thanks. Man, oh man, I hate to say it's gonna sound really ambiguous. It's up to you, bro. It is up to you. I have an LG ultra wide monitor over here, and it's like a 34-inch ultra wide high def 4K screen. I love it. I think it's great. I had not a 4K monitor before, and I worked on it for like years and it was fine. So you have to really ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? That's it. Like, it's maybe the 4K is obviously like a little bit better, but I don't think it's like a game. It's not like the game changing or game killer kind of thing. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. I DM'd you on Instagram. Thanks for answering my question. Jordan Alexander. Right on. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, I think for right now, that is all the question and answers that we have time for. Let's get back into our presentation. Okay, so we talked about understanding. Now we need to talk about ideating, generating ideas. So now you've spent the time researching, you've spent the time understanding the client, the problem, whatever it is you're trying to solve. Now you need to generate lots of ideas. And here's my tips on ideating. Generate lots of ideas, not one idea. A lot of times we generate one idea and then we try to run with it, right? We try to just keep cruising because we love that idea. So you can't just say, oh, I have it. I have the idea in my mind. No. Generate lots of ideas, because it should be like a shotgun blast at first. I just want to let the creativity flow. There's lots of ways. There's multiple ways to skin a cat. That's a horrible analogy. There's lots of ways to solve a problem. There's lots of ways to do one thing in Photoshop. There's lots of possible designs for this website for a client, right? There's not just one. We can't be so rigid in our thinking that we think it's just one. Sometimes there's more options or more possibilities. So generate lots of ideas and generate them fast, okay? Because the truth is, no idea is a bad idea unless it's the idea that you didn't let flow out of you, so you could at least analyze it, which we'll talk about later. So generate lots, generate fast, understanding that ideas come from research, right? Ideas don't just come from like you've done a bunch of research and then you just throw it all to the sidelines. No. Ideas come from all of that research. So you should be having like qualitative statements as you're generating all these ideas. Statements that say things like, well, since the client needs to make money this way, or since the standard for this type of website is, what should my ideas be? See, it can't just be, here's my ideas. It has to be, therefore. Always put a therefore statement inside of your design thinking, right? Because of what I've just researched, I found out these things. Therefore, these would be good ideas to generate from it, okay? So always put a therefore statement in between your research, your understanding, and your ideas, okay? So there it is, okay? They have to come fast, come from your research. They also should come from your experience. This is where the two meld into one, right? So you've done a bunch of research and understanding. Your ideas are coming from that research. And then also you harness any and all experience. If you don't have so much experience, people ask me this question all the time, what if I don't have experience? You're going off the data then. You're going off the research. Only if you have some experience, like let's say you've done 20 websites that are for yoga studios, and all of a sudden you get a new project for yoga studios. Man, that understanding and that research section of the process is a little bit quicker, isn't it? And you can start leaning a little bit more on your experience. In my experience, yoga studios need this. We need to implement a calendaring and booking system. So you're pulling all of this experience in tandem with the research, but you can never fully drop the research and understanding, right? So understanding into your ideas. And then this is another piece that a lot of people forget, right? As you are ideating and generating ideas, your ideas, know this, that your ideas will get whittled away later, okay? So don't get attached to them. Shotgun out 10, 20, 30 ideas. I'm not saying do 30 wireframes. I'm not saying that. I'm saying ideas. I really like the process of, if you've ever heard it mentioned, it's called doing the crazy eights. Crazy eights is where you take a piece of paper and you fold it a certain number of times so that when you unfold it, there's 8 boxes, 4x4. You can just draw the 4x4 boxes on there too if you want, but you do really fast ideation of wireframes, right? So this is the same idea. We're getting really nitty gritty now. We're zooming into the tactical. You want a wireframe? You should generate wireframes quickly. You shouldn't sit there and go, a button. Maybe a heading right there. No. Let it flow. I got box number 1. Boom. Here's my thing. Button. Like hero image button right there. Headline over to the side. Blah, blah, blah. If I was going to do something completely different, what do I do? Box number 2. Maybe headline over here. Maybe do something completely different. Maybe no image. Maybe, number 3. And now our creative process is flowing, right? Knowing that it's going to get whittled away, okay? And lastly, you need to know that ideas are just the start. Right? You can't say these are the end all be all. These are just ideas. That's all they are. Don't get so attached to them. Okay. And so that is the idea of ideating on something. Let's go to the next one. This is the validation process. Okay. So this is why I would always say that you need to do general thought work, understanding and ideation, and bring those to any client or manager or team before you move on. This is actually what we call the product design process, okay? And so like the slide says, it could include presenting to clients, testing with users, getting feedback from your team, receiving critique from a community of people like here, right? Or a design community somewhere, contrasting and comparing with other things, taking notes as people are speaking about your ideas and your thoughts, and then from that generating new ideas. And so this is kind of a little bit of what we call the product design process, where we're creating products. It's not linear. It's a loop, right? It's an iterative loop that starts with research and understanding. It moves into generating ideas, and then we're going to validate. We're going to test. And once we test, we might have to start looping back around. We don't get to go to the next step. We might have to go back up to the top and research some more, generate new ideas, and come back down and test a little bit more and get the validation and feedback we need. You know why? Because doing half of this loop over and over is a lot less work than going straight to design and trying to figure out why it wasn't right. Oh, let's redesign it. Let's redesign it. I understand it works really good. It looks really good. Well, because we haven't done these other steps in the circle. I'm doing this. I wish I would have had a graphic for this product design process. Oh my gosh. So, keep that in mind. You know what? I might just draw. Yeah, well, I was going to draw it out, but that's okay. Keep this in mind that it just makes more sense to validate, get your feedback, and then go back and do it again. Okay, so let's go back to our examples. When we're working with clients, let's say you're freelancing and you're working with clients. What does this mean? Let's get really tactical here. This means that you should do all of this market research, competitive set, understand your client, understand their brand, start generating some ideas. Maybe that's loose wireframes. Everything is low fidelity though, right? And then you should present all of those mood board style tiles, low fidelity stuff to your client. Let them look at it. Let them give you feedback and input on it, right? Now, as a freelancer, it would always make sense then to have that client sign off on it. Yes, we agree. But to get them to sign off and agree on it, you're gonna have to ask them qualitative statements or questions, right? You're not gonna say, what do you think about this wireframe or this messy mood board that I've created for you? You're gonna say, hey, I've created a bunch of rough ideas. I want to get validation and feedback from you based on your user base, based on your customers. Would your users like this? Is this satisfying the goals that we've understood in step one of the process? If so, how? Right? We're going to ask very qualitative, quantitative questions to make sure that we're heading in the right direction. The client likes it. If you're working in a team, if you're working in a design team, or maybe at a startup. I was working at a startup for a couple of years. This is the process that we used. I would do the research. I would generate ideas. I would take those ideas and present them to the team, right? I would let the developers, the rest of the design team, the founders look at it, and then they would assess like, hey, do we feel like this is accomplishing our vision and our goal as a company with our product? I feel like this is a good thing. Maybe we need to tweak those things. Boom. Thank you. I got the validation I needed. Sometimes we do user testings, right? Use that to help us understand and validate. And then we would move on, right, to the next process, which is refining, okay? And so let's go back to our slide. I'm going to sneeze here in a second. Guaranteed. You'll have to excuse me. Wow, that was a great feeling sneeze. I love sneezing. Did anybody know that? Do you like sneezing? Okay. So again, we're going to present, test, get feedback, receive critique. Critique is good. That's what we want. If you're freelancing and you are scared of getting critiqued by your clients, then what you should do is make sure that you have some sort of design community that you can submit your work to and get some sort of creative feedback. Okay. So join a design community somewhere, post stuff on Twitter, ask for feedback, whatever it is. Just get some design feedback. Put it on, I don't care, whatever it is, but get some feedback. That way you'll start being less scared of that thing. Okay, now once we've validated, we've gotten that, now it's time to refine. This is the designy work stuff, right? We've done the research and the understanding. We've ideated, generated ideas. We've gotten validation, at least that we're in the right direction. And now we're gonna refine. Okay, what does it mean to refine? It means learn from what you know, less assumptions, more data. We're building things based off of what we know, not what we once assumed. We make things usable. We get it. It says close to perfect. It should say perfect. Excuse me. This should say the word perfect, and it should look like that. Okay. So close to perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Here's the perfect example of being close to perfect. I designed this slide deck for this presentation. It has a misspelling in it. I don't care, because if I would have spent the time focusing on the perfection of the slide deck, I would have never got this live stream out. I'd rather have it be imperfect, close to perfect, and acknowledge the fact that I'm imperfect. Acknowledge the fact that we're imperfect and get as close as you can. You'll never be perfect. Design is an iterative experience. Then you want to define and document things, and don't shut down. You're never done. Excuse me, you're never done. Okay, design never ever ends. You're always going to come back around, probably in that process loop, and start again and try to perfect things and make it a little bit better. All right, so this is the time where we take all that messy stuff and we refine it. Okay, we bring it to the next level. We go from low fidelity to high fidelity. If you're trying to redecorate your office, this is the time when you go from understanding what you want to do, right? Generating a bunch of ideas, sketching, finding color palettes, shopping for couches and color paints. And then you move into the validation. You show some people, hey, what do you think? I was going to redo my office. What do you think of these ideas? People you trust and know. And then you go out and you refine. This is where you purchase the couch, purchase the paint, purchase the art, hang it up, right? And you start actually creating it based off of that initial vision and validation, okay? So if you're doing a website, same thing. You started low fidelity, started wireframes, you generated things fast, you got feedback, you got validation. Now you go in and you go high fidelity and you make that thing as close to perfect as you possibly can. That's what we want to do. We want to get things as close as we possibly can and having grace for ourselves while we're doing it, all right? So let's talk a little bit about what this process could look like. I'm going to show you, and I can't get too in depth because this is a real client project I'm about to show you guys, okay? Here's a real client project that I have done in the past. I want to show you how it goes. I'm going to hide a little bit, some information about the client here. Okay, one second. Here we go. Here's a real client project, all right? So here we are in Figma. You can see we have like a little bit of a proposal that I did for the client, okay? And then I moved into I did a bunch of research on my own and I moved into style tile land, okay? This is, and I think I actually got rid of the mood board here because I was presenting this to the client. The mood board was messy, it was rough. But then I came in and I just built a bunch of colors. I threw some assets together. I started creating a couple things. This is what we call a style tile, like more of a refined mood board. These are really messy wireframes, right? So these are all like, and again, I'm not showing you my crazy eights that I did on paper, but I definitely did crazy eights on paper, right? And then I moved, after I validated and sent this to the client, right? They said, yeah, we like it, go with that direction. I moved in that direction and I started building high fidelity designs off of that. And then once I started building those high fidelity designs, I went back and this client said, you know what? We've realized we were wrong. We don't like this direction that we're going. Right? We've changed our mind. And the reason is we didn't know our initial direction, what our values and goals were. So I had to go back around to the process. I had to start from research again, research it with this new information. Then I came back and I came to a V2 that they really, really loved. I went through that process all over again and they loved this process. And at the very end, I got it as close to being pixel perfect as I could. And then I built a small design library for them. And then I was done with the project, okay? That's a little snapshot. It's a little bit of a snapshot into what, you know, how I kind of work with clients or how my design process just kind of works in general. But the biggest thing is that you have a process at all. Again, so many of us, we're stuck here. We're stuck on this unfortunate reality that if you don't have a process, you're suffering for it. 100% of people that don't have a process are suffering for their lack of process. That is the reality, and it's hard. It's hard. So we need to get a process together. Let's talk about, I'm gonna go real micro right now, and then we're gonna take some questions and review some portfolios. So let's go real micro here on this idea of processes. All of these, so what I just shared with you is a process that goes for the entire design process, right? How you're thinking through a project. But what about your client interaction? What about just dealing with a client in general? Should you not have your own sub-process for dealing with a client if you're working freelance? You should. How do I work with a client? I can't just go like, well, we'll figure it out as we go. I have a similar process I work every client through. It starts with understanding. That's why I have a kickoff meeting. But what's amazing is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter like how, if I'm diving in micro now to the client process, if I'm talking about the entire design process, if I'm talking about the decorating my office process, it's the same. So if I'm working with a client, I'm still doing the same things. I need to understand the client. Okay. This happens usually in an initial kickoff meeting, like a 30-minute Zoom chat where I chat with them about what their needs are. I try to diagnose their problem. And then I'm going to go back. I'm going to leave the call. I'm going to go back and do a little bit of research on who they are and what they need. Then I'm going to generate ideas. I think you need a website, or maybe I think you need a mobile app, or maybe actually you came here looking for a website. I don't think that. I think you need a brand refresh. So I'm going to ideate all the things I think might work for this client. Okay. And then I'm going to bring them, I'm going to validate, I'm going to present them to the client and say, hey, here's what I think. I'm going to present them to you. I need validation on this. What do you think? What will work for your clients? They say, wow, we thought we needed a website, but you're right. Maybe all we need is a brand refresh. Okay, great. Awesome. Now, I would love to do that brand refresh for you. Let me go back and create a proposal for you, okay? And that proposal will lay out, that's the refining. I'm refining my interaction with the client. See how this macro process can be kind of drilled down into a micro process. Always the same thing though. Always process, always process, process, process. And so with that being said, what questions do you have about the process? We had a couple questions up in the chat. Let me see. Let me go back up and catch some of these questions. All right. How can I submit my portfolio for review? All you got to do is follow me on Instagram, DM me your link, and maybe, hopefully, not guaranteed that your portfolio get reviewed live here on the stream. So follow me on Instagram, DM me. Okay. Lapole says, I'd love to see you do an example of understanding the process. For example, which areas you research when you research for your project, what key areas we should have before we move on to ideating. Okay, so if you are trying to, in the process, let's say it's like for a website or something, which areas do I research as I'm researching a project? Okay, so I'm always going to do what's called a competitive set. I'm always going to do, let's talk about that really quickly. Okay. A competitive set is, let's say a coffee shop comes to you and says, I want like a really cool, hip, like website, marketing website or something like that for my coffee shop. Okay, thanks. I'm going to go back. I'm going to do some competitive research. I'm going to look at other coffee shops in the area. I'm going to look at trendy coffee shops outside of the area. I'm going to look at features that maybe the client has asked for, but I'm going to look at their competition elsewhere. Okay. I'm then going to do a little bit of market research, like what's hot in the space in general, right? And I'm going to pull some of that data. Hey, what's really hot is ordering online, or what's a really like a useful thing is map, location, hours, social media, like embedding like Instagram into the whole thing. Okay. And then I'm going to explore a bunch of options, but the idea, the last thing, well, actually, let me say this. The last thing is finding that X factor. Like, hey, I see some coffee shops do this. I see not all of them do this. And I see this would actually work really well. This could be like your defining X factor for your coffee shop, whether that's the tone that maybe is different from everybody else, right? Oh my goodness, I'm trying to think of her name. If you go, okay, here's a great example. I'm gonna think of, let's talk about X factor really quickly, okay? I'm gonna look for a designer that I know of, okay, who has a very unique style and approach to a lot of things. This is Meg Lewis, okay? She hosts the Dribble podcast called Hang Time, and Meg Lewis is unique in the fact that she's always doing things that are like colorful and silly. Like she's okay being kind of silly herself. This is Meg's style. This is her X factor. She does all these kind of custom illustrations. Everything's really kind of kooky and fun and playful. And this is Meg. This is who she is. That's her X factor. And you know what? Some people aren't going to like it, but it stands out. And the people that do like it know, wow, Meg's my girl. I like how free and awesome Meg is, okay? So it's all about creating an X factor. So that's the type of research that you can or should be doing, okay? How can you show your process? Haiti Heyman says, how can you show your process in a case study? That's a great question. Okay, showing your process in a case study, and we'll talk about this more when we do a couple portfolio reviews, which we're gonna start getting to here pretty soon, is you don't want it to be too long, don't read, right? Don't give me a book to read at the top and then show me. Show me your process by showing me your process. Don't show me your process by telling me about your process. So that's the first thing. Show me the process, okay? The next thing is, as you're doing those things, make sure that process is narrative. Like, tell me a story, okay? Here's the downfall of most case studies. It goes research, and then there's just a big blog post about research and like what it meant to you to research, and then like maybe a picture of a wireframe. It's like, oof, boy, we have to learn as designers how to be storytellers a little bit, right? How to narrate and tell exciting stories that engage people, that follow maybe a little bit of the hero's journey. We do that. We can do that visually. We can do that through the arc of the story. So just figure out how to tell stories. I think we're all still figuring out how to do that, but that's at least something we could all try to attain to, is telling good stories, right? Tell the story. This is why, like, if you ever, like, okay, for instance, yeah, I'm not a big football fan. Just not me. Not a football guy. My wife, not a big football guy. But we watch the Super Bowl every year, and how do we pick our team? We pick the team we want to win based off of the stories that are told. Oh, well, this guy, right, battled with like cancer as a child, and then he overcame, and then he got picked first in the draft, and now he's here as the quarterback for the whatever team. We're like, oh, I like that, right? Stories impact us, right? And they're powerful. So we need to learn how to tell stories. That's a great question. Okay. Josh Sims says, at what point in your workflow do revisions take place, i.e. two out of 3 revisions outlined in a proposal? I usually don't do my macro. Like that project I showed you was very, very unique. But I don't usually do very macro sized revisions. And what I mean by that is I don't usually, let them completely change the arc of the design, because in my process, I'm getting validation and approval at each step of the way, right? So, hey, here's the direction I think we should go. I think we should do a new website for you. Approved. Later on, they're not allowed to come back and go, we've changed our mind. We want you to, you've done hours and hours of website work. We've decided we want a logo for you. No. You don't get that. That's not considered an iteration. That's called change of scope of work, right? Okay. Later on, though, I'm going to present wireframes. I'm going to go, here's the direction we're heading. And I'm going to give you a couple ideas, okay? I'm going to shoot you 3 ideas. I always like the idea of 3 options. 3 options is good because when you have 2 options, the client gets scared because they have to say yes to one and no to the other. That's bad, right? So I'm going to give them mood board and visual styles, and then wireframes. I'm going to give them 3 of each. This is how I do it. That way they're like, ooh, we really like wireframe number 1, and we really like style number 2. Can we merge those things together? Absolutely, we can. We could do that for you, right? Once I'm past that, though, they can't come back and go, ooh, I don't like the layout of the homepage. I go, well, you already approved it, though. Sorry, you've already approved that. So now if you'd like to change that, that's what we call scope creep. We're gonna have to change the direction that we're moving. Oh, actually, we're like close to being done with the project. I don't like the buttons being blue. I don't even know if we want our brand color to be blue. Well, that's not an iteration. That's a complete change. We're going back, right? So that's how I think of it. Iterations take place during the low fidelity portions, and you just offer them a certain amount of revisions inside of your contract or proposal. Okay. Okay, that was a great question though. One more question. Adil says, is UI animation in demand along with design skills? Yeah, animation's a big one. It's a huge skill set right now that employers are looking for. They would love to know that you can add a little something spicy to just the basic design. So at least interaction, right? Like some basic kind of interaction design would be helpful. So that's definitely a thing as well. Okay. So yeah, but I mean, if you want to really take it to like the next step and you want to, get really good at animation, then now you have a skill set that people just like really, really value. Okay. So think of that. Okay. Let's start doing some portfolio reviews. And before we get too far into portfolio reviews, I just want to say one more time, thanks to my members for being my members, for supporting the channel. It helps the channel just to produce better content and for me to just be here doing live streams for everybody. So my members are really special to me. They get behind the scenes access, first crack at early access to all videos as well as design files. And next week, stay tuned. We're gonna be doing a members only Zoom chat, a mentorship call that's only for my members. And so hit that blue button, join, become a member, and then check the community tab for members only posts. You get a link to next week's Zoom mentorship chat. Let's jump in to the first portfolio review of the day. This is Jordan Alexander. Look at that nice smile. That's a nice smile. I like it. I love a smiling designer that's looking, actually, see this? Like looking at, am I facing the right way? He's looking this way, sorry. He's looking at the text in which it is speaking about him, right? He says, I design products that work and inspire people. I get that, okay. I'm gonna have a couple of suggestions here in a second. Hi, I'm Jordan, digital designer specializing in marketing design. I love this, here we go. I laugh way too much. I love a good cheeky beer. Okay, I'm looking to join forces with fun and inspiring in-house design. Oh, Jordan, you did all the right things. You did all the right things, my friend. You gave me a little bit of personality and character in your statement. You told me that you like to laugh. You told me what type of work you're looking for, inspiring in-house design or marketing teams. If I'm a hiring manager, I come here and go, oh, Jordan's for me. This might be the next designer that we hire, because we're a marketing or design team that's looking for an in-house designer. See how you niched down, you've narrowed down who's looking at your website, my friend. I love it. Okay, one thing I would recommend is figure out a way to make this just a little less wordy. Okay, how about I design products that work and inspire? I don't know, something like that. Get rid of this third line, and then down here I drop this to only 3 lines, not that 4th line. So it could say something like I'm a digital you already have your name up here, so maybe you could just say like, I'm a digital designer specializing in marketing design. Or how about, hi, I'm Jordan, I'm a designer that loves marketing design. I laugh way too much, love a good beer, and I'm looking to join forces with an in-house designer marketing team. Maybe you could get that on 3 lines, maybe. But I tell you, it's just a little bit too wordy. Image, great, fantastic. Button, interaction, fantastic. We can see your resume there, and we get to the work pretty quickly, which I love. Okay, let's do this one. This looks pretty cool. The Banking Dessert Initiative. Okay, I mean, good design aesthetic, good presentation. It shoots us out to a Behance portfolio page, which I love. I think that's fine. I think a lot of people think that they need to figure out ways to create custom designs and template styles on their own website. Well, just link it out to Behance, and then you just design it like this, and now you're getting the social aspect of Behance, and you're getting all of this. Yeah, this is great. Everything is branded in this case study, right? We get a good summary of what it is. It's not too lengthy. It's not too long. Don't read. Like, beautiful design aesthetic, a good balance of imagery and storytelling. So this is good narrative storytelling while presenting the work in the design. Love it. Let's look at another one really quickly. Del 1, okay. Love it. Okay, kind of cool. I like the other one a little bit more, but it's probably just because I like the brand and the company a little bit more. But I mean, again, everything's branded really well, laid out really well. It tells me what you did. You did email design. Look, little blurb, okay? And then some stats. Oh, stats. Oh, give me stats on a case study. You give me stats right now, and I just love it to death. Like, beautiful imagery. You took the time to present things well. It's great. It's beautiful stuff. Okay, so great job. Great job. And that is Jordan Alexander at jordanalexander.co. Great submission. Thanks for submitting your work for the stream today. I got 2 more, and I got to get going. I got an emergency that just came up, so let's talk about it. This is Anas Taha, a UI UX designer and 3D designer from Giza, Egypt. All right, UI and UX. Yep, and you got a little bit about me. I like that. That's fine. Hey, if you're going to have just a Behance portfolio or just a Dribble portfolio, then what you tell me you are, which is a UI UX designer, show me and back it up, and you're doing just that. Let's open a couple of these projects and check them out. All right, that's a Tracky app, helps patients track. Yep, personal project, good. Yep, everything's laid out really nicely. The brand is nice, got some motion and animation there. I'm liking that. Okay. I mean, I can't complain. This is beautiful stuff. Beautiful UI work. Showing me a little bit of the process, laying it out. I like it. I don't have too much bad to say. I really don't. The design skills are on point. Everything's working. Even just the single shots like this show me that you're doing well. I'm loving your use of color. You're really good at this modern, light, white, bright kind of thing. And you're doing great. Ooh, this looks very nice. Okay. Hey, I mean, I don't have much else to say, except I'd love to see these built out a little bit more, maybe even onto your own website. It's the only recommendation I can give you, but you're crushing the game. You're crushing it. Keep up the good work. Last one, and then we got to go because of this emergency that just showed up. This is Joe Marsh. Joe Marsh, freelance designer based in London, who specializes in digital storytelling. You better tell me some stories. All right. I mean, I love it. Colors are nice. Presentation's nice. A little bit of animation. I'm gonna be really. I'm gonna say this in all love. It looks a little bit old. Okay. We need to modernize this kind of hero area, this top hero area, just a little bit. I think that could really, really help you. Yep. Interactions are good. Stuff is good. I would just say modernize the thing a little bit. I do have to get going. I got a little bit of an emergency I got to take care of, y'all. But we'll see you right back here at the same time, same place next week for another live stream. Take care.